Hey everyone, it's Vice. Welcome to Making Wrestling Work. We are back, and I get the privilege to talk with somebody I know very well. So today we're just going to dive into it, talk about the work, and I've been wanting to do this intro for a little while. Let's see if I can do it. He is the Zest, the best. You know the rest. The man, the brand, the king of the lemonade stand. Please welcome Manny Lemons. Manny, how are you, man?
Good, my brother. How are you doing? That's a great introduction. Good job.
Thanks, man. I know it so well, man. I'm doing well. It's good to see you. You seem to be doing well. Having a very fruitful career, going all over the place. And man, just first of all, how are you feeling at this point in your career?
Oh man, I'm blessed as heck. Like I get the opportunity to do what I love for a living. You know what I mean? Like because that's all I do is pro wrestling. That's why I'm also so busy all the time. If that makes sense. Like I think like I was just telling you, before we went live, I was doing an event right here before today. That's why I was trying to figure out time to schedule and whatnot just to get on here, just because this is how the business works. And and like you said, sometimes you do interviews at 1 a.m. and sometimes you do them at 1 p.m. You know what I mean? Just whatever works and whatever can get it on. And I'm just happy we can able to get it on. But I'm blessed, my brother.
Well, I'm very thankful that you were able to, fit me into that busy schedule. And somebody who's been in this industry for a while, I've known you for a while, since a little early in your career. I believe you started in, I want to say 2015. Is that correct? Something around there? 2012. Okay. So that was
2015, you're right about that. I think 2015 is the year where I actually officially went on the road per se, and I think that's starting a career. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
I started training and wrestling in 2012, but I was just more wrestling local shows and Colorado here and there. But 2015, I think when we met, that's probably when I was officially on the road pretty much almost every other weekend, at least at that time.
And getting into the industry is no easy task, but okay, so were you a fan first, or did something just spark up in you later in life? Like how did that lead into a career in pro wrestling?
It's funny because I want to say my watching wrestling in my family was generational, right? So my grandpa would watch it like my dad, and that's the particular moment of when I really fell in love with wrestling is when I was watching the old school WCW, NWO back in the day, back 1996 era. My dad had wrestling on, and I was 4 years old playing with my toys or whatever. And there's one particular moment that really attracted me is when we was watching WCW Nitro. Obviously, it was when Sting was feuding with the NWO, and Big Show at the time. He went out and ended up jumping Big Show. So Sting came out and just kind of cleared house. But the aura of Sting walking to the arena, he was just the coolest person in the world. And then when he dropped his bat in that scene. And you just hear everyone Tony Schiavone and Eric Bischoff on the microphone say, "He dropped his bat, and he just starts laying house with the NWO. It was a real life superhero in that particular moment. And it's from that moment on, I've been a fan ever since, and I've watched it all the time. So I mean that's really what attracted me to get to start watching wrestling. So obviously I was a fan of it. Right? I think that's how we all kind of get into it. We're fans of it, and we appreciate the art. And that was my first moment ever encountered with wrestling.
I think you and I had the same kind of interest because there was such a multitude of pro wrestling at that time. And so, I remember the old WCW days, especially counteracting the WWE, something else back then. But and so that got you to ask some questions about how do I get into this? How do I be a pro wrestler? How do I become awesome?
My mom reminds me every day because back in the day, obviously growing up watching that girl with brothers and whatnot, so we always would turn the living room inside out and create our own wrestling rings or whatnot. But growing up, I was a big sports guy. So my family is really big into football. So I played sports pretty much my whole life. And after high school was really when I could have gone to college. I made an excuse not to go because I had a child, my own excuse, young father, whatnot. But I got really depressed when I was 19 years old. I went to corporate America, started working, and I was actually a manager at Discover Card here in Utah. And it just wasn't it for me. So I ended up getting curious. That's when The Rock came back and the popularity started to boost up again. And I ended up looking up a company called Ultra Championship Wrestling Zero, which is they no longer exists, but it was the first actual school that trained me. Cinco de Mayo 2012 was my first day of training ever. I never forget. I I dragged my best friend with me because I was like, I don't want to go alone. Come see this with me. Watch me wrestle the whole time. Like let's see what this is about. And they just started teaching me the bumps, the basic bumps, whatever. And Mike Cassidy, who's one of our trainers here now at Devotion, he was actually the trainer there, and he gave me a flip bump, but I ended up landing on my head because I just never rotated my body that way. Wrestling, being an athlete, you think you can go in there and do it, but it's like teaching your body 19 years of what not to do, if that makes sense. And I ended up landing on my head, but then I ended up just going back ever since, and like I said, it's just every day it just got better. I always try to learn something, and like and the rest is kind of history with it. Like I've been blessed to wrestle and work with the biggest names, wrestle for the biggest companies and have genuine good relationships with these companies where not only does it now that where I own a wrestling school and a promotion, I'm also able to help everyone around me, if that makes sense. And I always live with the mindset, we got to leave it better than we found it. It did something like that didn't exist before. It exists now, and we just want to build it to become better for that next generation.
And you developed this kind of character about you. Of course, Manny Lemons. Okay, you look at that name initially on paper, several years ago. I don't know, but this character you brought about you is very unique. It's interesting. It's entertaining. Where did the Manny Lemons, persona come from? How did that come into reality?
Yeah, I think when you first met me, I actually think I was Manny Fresh at the time. Manny
No, it
Fresh
was
is
actually I believe it was still Manny Lemons. I still have the old green and yellow shirt. I still have that actually.
That was the first one then. Yeah. So prior to me doing Manny Lemons, I obviously had a bunch of character transitions. When I first got into wrestling, Manny Fresh was my wrestling name, and I always did that because like my brother would call me Manny Fresh based on the rapper growing up. So I was like, oh, it's a cool wrestling name. I want to use that. Plus, I go by Manny, so it made sense. But after transitioning, I was blessed and had the opportunity to go work with Ring of Honor in 2016. At the time, they were doing their tryout camps, and I ended up going to the tryout camp as Manny Fresh. But the funny thing was, like Christopher Daniels and Bob Evans, Kevin Kelly, and the people, Jay Briscoe, the people who were like judging at the time, they remembered my first name was Manny, but then they didn't remember my last name, but they remembered that I wore a bright yellow shirt. So they kept calling me Manny Lemons the entire tryout. And, you're kind of like, okay, that's cool. I mean, at least they acknowledging me, right? But after we did the tryout, I was kind of getting close with Bob Evans and Kevin Kelly at the time. And we ended up going to a Philly diner, and they were just kind of like, why don't you run with that? Why don't you run with Manny Lemons? And at the time, you're just like, that's so stupid. I don't want to do that. Like I want to be a cool wrestler, like Manny Lemons is a cool guy in my head at the time. But eventually, Bob Evans got me in contact with one of his graphic designer, Richard, and he does a lot of work for the Ring of Honor guys and AEW guys now. But he created me my lemon logo, and that's on that shirt that you have. And then, like, right there, it was so, like, everyone at the table kind of popped. And it was like, if the workers are kind of popping, the fans are going to pop for it, right? So I said, what the heck? I'm going to try it one show. Let's just see how it goes. So I ended up wrestling in Utah as Manny Lemons. And the reaction that I got from the audience was a different reaction that I never had. And it's because they could relate with the character. I was coming out bright yellow shorts. And I was still figuring, the catchphrase and everything all came later on, right? This is me just plain as day, feel the bright, whatever the heck I was saying at the time. But I ended up, instead of biting lemons, I did, what do you call them, lemon heads at the time. And I ended up, that was my superpower, right, at the time. And the reaction to the audience, they got it and they connected with it and it really worked. And it was like, I'm going to run with this. Like I said, like it just was able to turn it into a brand. Like Ring of Honor, you've used me as Manny Lemons. And that's where I was like, okay, if they're going to use me as Manny Lemons, that's the one we're going to use it as. So, I was blessed to work with them and work with TNA and, work with AEW now and just have the opportunities I was. The catchphrases kind of came in like just repetition and working on things. The man, the brand, the king lemonade stand. It's like, that sounds good and that rhymes. And now that's became a model, became the model for it, Zest of the best, the rest.
And that's where, biting it on lemons, throwing them into the crowd, which people go nuts for. You wouldn't think that would be something that wins people over, but just that involvement and just you think it's ridiculous, but it's like an awesome ridiculousness. And like I want to give you credit for that because it's the most random thing that can just generate that buzz. And even though I'm sure you're in the ring, you biting these lemons, it's like, I need some freaking water, man. Like, please no.
Well, it usually gets in my eyes or something, like like sometimes I get in my eyes, and you're like kind of blind. So every time I come back, I'm like blind. I'm like, run into me. I can't see him some of the times. But like, I think the reason why it works is because I believe it's real. Manny Smith and Manny Lemons in this day are the same person. And it's kind of like what Danhausen's doing in the WWE right now. He's freaking killing it. But people are relating to him because he's just being real and he's being himself now. And I think that's like the audience and the people in the industry know when you're faking it, when you're trying to fake it. And it's like, I'm not, I'm just being myself out there. Yes, I add a little bit of times 10 to spinach to Popeye. It's like lemons to Manny, bite the sour, get the power. But I mean, you've been in those arenas where the people erupt and it's like, it's creating a real reaction because I'm being real in the moment with them. You know what I'm saying?
So, how much is the character of Manny Lemons more important or less important than the actual like professional wrestling capability? Which part of that do you think the promoters gravitate towards more? If I have to
I
ask,
don't know.
if you had to
It's
guess.
kind of sick. I think people relate with characters because especially in indie wrestling, there's not really a lot of characters out there per se. But like, I mean, like people, I've proven myself to be a main eventer because I've wrestled, even at Duke, I've wrestled 30 minutes. You know what I'm saying? 30-minute main events. So like, I let the work speak for itself. Like, my job is to do whatever the promoter wants. If you want me to be kind of funny Manny Lemons, you want me to be bad guy Manny Lemons, like I'll do any Manny Lemons you want. Whatever the story calls for. And a lot of people realize, like, I don't know, I just have a way of connecting with people that have been blessed with that. Usually, sending me out as a good guy, Manny Lemons, is usually the way to go. Because I can connect with a casual viewer and bring them in on the story that we're trying to tell through my performance. But I can do that in a 60-minute match. I can do it in a 5-minute TV match. Whatever way it goes, there's degrees to it.
And to add into that, you're such a like professional individual, like behind the scenes, and is something that is very refreshing. Uh, there's a pun there, but it's something that's just very amazing to see with an individual who gets that kind of reaction, who gets that kind of chemistry with the crowd, and it's gotten you to go all over the country, if not the world, right? I mean, you've wrestled at, man, almost every major pro wrestling company today, I
Yeah,
think. Just,
yeah.
I mean,
To the exception of having a match in WWE, yeah, I've wrestled on TV for probably every single one of them. But I think that just goes to, like you said, the professionalism, man. Like it's like no one's self-made. Like we're all like treat the janitor the same respect you treat the CEO. Like it's like the only way this industry is going to grow is if we all grow it together. So me walking in there, like people always use the word veterans. I hate using veterans, regardless of like how long I've been doing it. I'm just like everyone else. I'm a part of the show. I'm here to make this show better. We're all doing this together. I can't do it without my partner. My partner can't do it without me. So treat them with respect. They'll treat me with respect, and this thing will go a lot farther than just walking in with their head high like I'm this 20-year veteran. It's like that. I don't think that does justice for anyone.
you can't go into the ring and just wrestle yourself, and you're certainly not going to go in there and wrestle a broomstick and say you're doing all the work. No, you can't do that. You have to be able to work with people, and it's something you do very well. And I want to give you like proper credit on that. Like it's an incredible asset to have. Kudos to you on that. And talking of the other promotions that you worked at, I mean, we're talking. Let's see. I'm not going to be able to count them all, but just the major ones. I've seen you wrestle a match at Ring of Honor, AEW. What else? What else are we talking about? Of course, NWA
TNA.
territories. Of course, TNA. That was fun. I got to see that one. That was fun. And it's just something that has an uphill growth, I believe. What is the ultimate goal for you, though?
For me, in particular, and this may like, I still believe that I'm going to main event WrestleMania one day and become the WWE World Champion. I believe that in my heart. And like, if I don't believe that, I think it's time for me to hang up the boots and just kind of be a manager person, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, I think every time, every performance I go out there, it's too not. I don't want to say steal the show because, but in a sense, it is right. Like I'm out there. I want these people to remember me, and if they remember me, they're going to come to the merch table. They're going to buy my merch, and they're going to help provide the value around everyone. You know what I'm saying? Like, so for example, like you just mentioned all these companies that I wrestle with to do it. Like, there's so many things that like I'm trying to help get Albuquerque noticed. You know what I mean, with AEW and TNA, and like trying to help everyone because I can't be the only star here. You know, not that I'm the only star there, but like Utah, I'm kind of the only star here. If that makes sense. We need to make other stars. We need other people to be on TV because if that ups that business, if that ups their business, that ups my business. You know, we all it's a give take. You know, it's I wake up every day. It's like what can I give to the business? And I'd be lying to say if my goal is not to be the main event of WrestleMania. That's 100% the goal. I believe that I have the ability and the character and still the time. Like I'm only 33. I'm still entering my prime. So I still got a lot of gas in the tank. You know, yeah, I've been doing it 14 years, but I want to be that guy who probably wrestles till he's 60. You know what I'm saying? Just because I love it and I want to achieve the goals and prove to other people you can be what you want to be in this world. It may take you 20 years, but at least I sure as heck would not regret those 20 years of the grind because it's all about the journey and everything in between it. I have so many stories with so many legends and so many people like yourself that it's like I met genuine good people, and it's like that's what it's all about.
And I'm sure you have like a bucket list of things. Like we're talking like, that
Very
WrestleMania
easy.
moment aside, I'm sure you have a bucket list of things to do in the wrestling industry and the independents, etc. Like what's one of the things that you've always wanted to do on the independents that you still yet to do?
As far as the indies goes, I think like when it comes to the Southwest, I mean, I've wrestled. You know, I'd like to wrestle probably in New York more. You know what I mean? Like get up towards more the yeah, that side of the country because I've been more like I used to live in Atlanta, so I did like the OVW, I did the Nightmare Factory, I did all that stuff. Uh, I really just want to make it better and help out where I can. You know, I don't think there's really a particular individual agenda when it comes to the indies because for me, I'm thinking long term goal. But let me help these indies and help these people around me elevate themselves in the process to get to that goal, if that makes sense, you know? Because if no one knows who you are, no one's going to buy what you're selling. So I got to go and wrestle everywhere. It's like a traveling circus, you know what I mean? Like you're on I'm on the road every single weekend, some territory, you know? I was in Nevada last week. I'll be in Albuquerque next week, or I'll be Denver next week, Albuquerque the following week. You know what I'm saying? And it's just a never-ending grind. And I wish more people would realize that like it is a sacrifice like no other. It is going to sacrifice your time, your mental health, your physical health. You know, and that's just what the industry is. But the I don't have any regrets in anything in my career because they've all been lessons or blessings. You know what I'm saying?
And you have multiple ways, sorry, methods of involvement in the professional wrestling world because you have Devotion Championship Wrestling out there, and that's a big part of what you're trying to do because you are trying to get that going as well, and that's a different part of the job for you, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
What's yeah, and so what's the difference between going out there as Manny Lemons and then here you are representing Devotion or any other promotion like that if you venture out there, but Devotion is important to you in another aspect, and so you have to split that kind of personality. But
Yeah.
are there different goals in that aspect?
For devotion, particularly, I think that I want to make Utah one of the number one territories on the planet, and I think we're trending that way with what we're doing. I mean, like you said, it's a jack of all. To be in the business, you have to be a jack of all trades. It's the easiest thing I do is wrestle. You know what I'm saying? That's the easiest thing. You know, like you got to play manager. You got to be the guy. You got to be the bad guy sometimes. Sometimes when things don't work, you have to address those situations. You know what I'm saying? Like a character doesn't work, change this or change that, or little backstage drama. You got to put a fire on those things. You know what I mean? But we record for television too. You know, right now we're on YouTube, but like we have to write a show out. You know, we write 4 weeks of TV every month. So you got to be willing to know how to write a show, produce a show, agent the matches, make sure the story that we're trying to tell in these particular matches are coincide with the story we're continuing, or if it's just for that particular segment. So it's just like there's so much to learn with that, and I think that I would encourage a lot of people to become a jack of all trades because that's when you're more valuable asset. Now, like I have Devotion as an entity where it's like, look, I travel somewhere, I run a promotion. You may impress me, you may come. I mean, we may bring you in. You just never know. But it's the goal is the overall goal and purpose is just to elevate the industry.
So you're an individual who definitely knows how to tell, who's a likelihood to, who's a good idea to book, right? Who's a good idea to put in the ring, and who might need to work on some things, right? It's a different thought process when you go out to another promotion that is not Devotion, who are you working with in the ring? Because you have to, I mean, you got to work with them. But what are some of those traits that you might look at when you're dealing with Devotion, as opposed to if you go out to a different promotion to wrestle?
So I mean, like obviously with devotion, we got a school tied here, so a lot of the students get like one-on-one time, particularly. Like when I travel out to other promotions, like I always look for people who can captivate the audience the minute they hit the curtain, the minute they leave. If that makes sense, because a lot of times, like a lot of things, and you probably see me when I structure my matches and whatnot. I don't plan a whole lot because I feel like when we plan too much, we take the audience out of the moment. We're so worried about the spot that we forget about reacting with the audience or selling or something. That if you're just in the moment, don't know what's coming next, that you're always going to just be selling or moving because that's just this is what we do, if that makes sense. But I mean, I think anyone can really captivate the eyes. I mean, I always thought when it comes to like me traveling out there and people want to come to devotion, I'm always like anyone's really open minded. Like I don't say no. I mean, am I going to fly them out and take care of them? I mean, if they're not a named talent, it's kind of hard because we do live in our economy is so much smaller than like Albuquerque and whatnot that we're still a growing entity. You know what I mean? Like DWO was around for 10 years prior to you guys ever getting going. So you guys had us kind of not like a platform, but like kind of a map to follow, but then kind of paved your own way off of it, if that makes sense. We didn't really have that here prior to that because no one inside Utah ever got outside the box and realized what professional wrestling really is. You know, and so like I like to see people when they tell stories. I like to see how they present themselves in the locker room, like you said, like being respectable to others. If you're not respectable to others, then like I don't want to book you. I don't want anything to do with you. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna like I'll put anyone over. That's my job as a wrestler. Like like when I lost the title in Duke, like they were like so hesitant. They were so worried that I was gonna not do it. Not like me particularly, but like I was like, guys, I don't care. I would lose this title 2 months ago. Like it's your company. I'm here to do a job for you guys to get the person over who's gonna take it. You know what I mean? So let's make that the best moment possible for them. So that way this person can take away whatever shine or heat I have from working with these bigger entities. Hopefully, rub it into them to get them the rub. You know what I'm saying?
And that encompasses a lot of different styles of matches. Wanted to pick your brain because I'm sure you have, as a pro wrestler, a favorite style of match. A lot of people gravitate. Oh yeah, one-on-one match is probably the most, what is it, the most appealing or the most normalized, whichever the case may be. But as a pro wrestler, which kind of match is the one that really excites you the most?
Give me a 5-minute TV match. One-on-one Seagulls.
I said it excites you the most, not the easiest.
I mean, like I like working in the I like working the main event matches, but I also know like to take away that spot from people. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would I would love to wrestle 30 minutes every time, but like that's just not possible every time because of the story and what it takes. I mean, a one-on-one match is the easiest one because I'm worrying about one individual. If I do a triple threat, I got to worry to communicate with two people, so you have to structure a little bit more and it's more chaotic. Like the last match we had was a 5-on-5. That thing had to be structured bit by bit because, if XYZ forget their spot, then how do we get back on? We have to know where we're going. Just know where the story's going and where we're going. You know what I mean? But I think the most value that I like and you get out of me is putting me in a one-on-one match because I can get anyone over and make them look good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that as humble as possible.
Oh yeah, of course, because you're one of the most humble people. Like, come on. I mean, seriously, no sarcasm there. You've been in a lot of different matches, a lot of different types, and you mentioned like a 5-minute match, and we have those out in DCCW. And there's nothing wrong with a 5-minute match. Is the thing. You can put a lot of wrestling in 5 minutes. And so, like, actually, I do want to get your take on that. What is your take on a 5-minute match as opposed to 12, 20-minute match? I mean, obviously the time's a difference, but how does a 5-minute match get over just the same as a regulation time match?
I think particularly for those, like our job in that particular match is to get the energy going, right? So we want to set the tone the minute we go out the curtain. Like we don't want to take away any big spots from anyone. Like if you watch my match with Hook at AEW this last few months, like we didn't really do anything, but we had the audience captivated. We got hooked over because he just choked me out in the end of the finish. We got to where we wanted. I think I took one bump, and I think he took one bump. But it really, like, those particular matches, you're more engaging with the audience, but also communicating with your opponent. We're not going to go in there and hit an Alabama slam, if that makes sense, in the first match. But in the main event match, you save those spots for later on the card. It's like knowing where you're at on the card, right? So if that match is the first match, starting it off, we don't want to go all in and steal everyone's thunder and all their moves, which is easy for me because I don't really do anything. But you start going later on to these matches, you plan bigger spots for bigger moments because the story and they implicate it, right? And usually a 5 minute match is usually just like a one-off between people because there's not really any story other than these two people are fighting. Where a 12 minute match, like for example, Thunder, and us had that last like 20, 30 minute 5 on 5. There was a lot of spots in there that we had planned and whatnot. So there was more ingredients sprinkled into that particular match, if that makes sense. Versus the match, and I don't even say lower card because I think the first match is the most important match on the card because that's the pace for everything. So there's a responsibility with every one of these matches. And the 20-minute main event, they're the ones who have to send the crowd home happy, and they got to bring them back next time. So their job is more, they got to up the ante of what we did in the first 3 matches without duplicating it, because there's only so many times you can see someone do a moonsault, right? Like, save that for the main event.
So correct me if I'm wrong. You're primarily a baby face anywhere you go. Have you ever actually gone the heel route?
Yeah, it didn't work. So I was a heel in Arizona for Apex here. And, like, to be honest with you, like, being a heel, I love being a heel. It's so much easier.
Everybody does.
I just get to talk crap. You know what I mean? And there's not really any remorse for what I'm saying because I'm justified with what I'm saying in my own thoughts versus being a babyface. You got to listen to the opinion of the audience, right? Where my job's to take away that thunder from the babyface. I love that aspect of it. But in TNA, my first run in 2021, I was a heel with Brian Myers in the Learning Tree. But I mean that's kind of hard to say because I was more of like a side project. Like, I had a few matches, but I wasn't like in every match every week, if that makes sense. So I didn't really get to showcase too much of that. But yeah, bro, we did Apex out here last year, and I was a heel, and they just kept like, you'd say something, be like, "Oh, your wife wants me" or something, and the guys would be like, "Yes, yes, she does." It's like, no, you're not supposed to say that. You know what I mean? So it didn't work,
how you talk,
but I loved it.
That's usually a backfire, actually, when, like, if you go out there as a heel and people counteract that, they contradict what you're saying. That's when it's not working. That's when it's not working. You got to play the other side of the field, and which is ironic because if you're not a believable heel, then you have to do more work to be the babyface role because it does take more work, and that's funny. You couldn't make a believable, not a believable, but it's probably like your look, your energy, your capabilities and whatnot that worked against you as a heel, didn't it?
It does because, like, a lot of people, like they were saying, it's like they kind of know I'm a good person, so it's hard to boo me. You know what I'm saying? And like I think I'm a whatever person, but like, people have their opinion of me. They either love me or they don't. And a lot of people just they're like, it's hard to boo you because you do a lot of things, and it's we respect that, and that's a cool feeling, when they say that. But it's like, yes, but for the 2 hours I'm in this show, I'm a bad guy, so just boo the shit out of me.
Well, yeah, sure, but I mean, they said the same thing about John Cena, and that one time, it was. I mean, they knew they were supposed to boo him, but it's in reality, like, this is the guy. It's kind of hard to do that, right? And he'll lean into it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just supporting who you are and like what you can present yourself as well. And no, I say take that as a compliment, man. Like, just roll with it, and you've rolled with it. It's gone well, and you're also inspiring a lot of other individuals to get in the industry and do what you do. But so, are you training anybody yourself? Is that?
I mean, I run my school, so like we got a class of 30 people, so we are training a lot of people.
Yeah. You do that, but it's like, is it one-on-one? I've never been there, I'm sorry to say, but do you do the one-on-ones with individuals and such, or is it a group kind of?
It's more of a group training. Like, the problem is that, like, you have, like, it's hard to do one-on-one because when you try to show them something, like, I have to do it on another individual, right? So like I can't do it on this person because they're not going to see what I'm doing and they're not going to retain it in their brain. So I have to have someone else always there to like show them what we're doing, if that makes sense. Because like a lot of things in wrestling, I think a lot of trainers lack is we're not really explaining the why of what we do. Why are we throwing a punch? Why is this necessary to fight back here? Why is there a comeback? Why is there an establishment? Well, that's what we're here to explain to you, you know. And we do it in a group environment. Just, you know, in that sense too, it's like my training center is only open 4 days a week, so like it's hard to get in there and like do one-on-one sessions because we do have a lot of interest in it, and it's just not fair to like do a one-on-one with other people. But like the group setting is like how I always train, and that's the style that I took, you know, adapted from the Nightmare Factory or whatnot to bring it in close. And like, so I just kind of, everything I mimic really is kind of from the Nightmare Factory. You know, they've upped their game so much now, but this is just like for me from last and like having Dreamer out, having PT out here. It's like I'm picking their brains as a coach to really present this knowledge to my students, right? So, and it's like it's tough to do that in the solo environment. I like to have a group class. I like to teach everyone, and it brings the
As
energy
a
too.
Oh yeah. And as a trainer, like I'm sure you have a certain set of goals, but what is if you had to pick out just one moment as a trainer that you know you did well with somebody, what can you imagine that moment is?
The only one that comes to mind, like just recently, is Lorena. Right, I trained her.
Mm,
She's training to be a ref, and you know it's kind of cool to have one of your kids be the first ever female referee in the state of New Mexico ever. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of like a
yes.
cool, that's a cool moment, you know. And you know she's training to be a wrestler, and you know her journey is a little slower than most, but that's why we utilize her for ring announcing and refereeing. Like, okay, we're going to teach you to be the best ring announcer, best referee we possibly can be, you know? So, like, that's a cool moment. Like, you know, like, even when, like, WWE came around here, man, and, like, with AEW and everyone going there, like, I'm happy to say, like, I helped got, like, 30 people booked for that loop, you know, within the weekend because they were in Utah and in Albuquerque, you know? Like, so it's like those are good feel moments, you know, because it's like, look, I'm actually helping people because that's what we're supposed to do. I wish someone helped me like that when I was first starting. It's my job now to do that for a lot of my kids. And it's not even just my kids, like, you know, like Tommy Two Scoops is my boy. You know what I mean? Like I try to help him whenever I can, you know, like because if we're not helping everyone, then what's the point of us even doing this? It's just being selfish. Like I've been around the block, I've worked with every big name you could think of. I probably have a story, you know, probably not for the camera, maybe for the camera, who knows? But it's the I'm blessed, but like also being around all those individuals, I was able to pick their brain and pry their knowledge, you know, to give to me, you know, and like it's if I just hoard it in, then I'm not doing any justice for anybody.
And so now I want to get into the fun part because wrestling is about having fun. That's how it all starts, right? Certainly when you
Yeah,
start off, it's not about making money because sometimes it costs more than you get out of it.
yeah,
But I guarantee you've had some fun matches. I don't know all of them, so I want to ask if there's any one match in your career. I'm not talking about your best match because we all know
yeah,
your best match is always your next one. Um,
yeah.
not your best match, but one that sticks out in your mind as like the most fun match that you've had in your career, just for the sake of fun.
Most most fun. Well, like even like because like I feel like now like I'm trying to have fun with it too. Like even this weekend we did a big 6-man tag that was just so fun. You know what I mean? We got the people over, we did our job, we made the heels, and like I took the pin, and everyone's like, "You're gonna take the pin?" I was like, "I don't give a crap, take the pin. Who gives a crap?" You know, like let's put this person over. My job's to put this person over. You know, but gosh, we did like comic. We do our kamikaze shows out here, and like those matches are always fun because it's kind of a bar crowd, so like you don't really have to cater to the wrestling audience per se. It's just more entertainment and it's more adult friendly, so you can kind of let the wheels go off, you know. Um, I mean, one of my favorite matches that I had the most fun in is when I wrestled Sam Adonis at our 1 year anniversary to a 60-minute time limit. You know what I mean? Like we had fun for 60 minutes, and like it was a good match. You know what I mean? And someone of his caliber, like I learned so much from that match, you know. But it was fun during the process. Uh, I mean, I always speak about, I mean, my match, like the match that really transcends my career probably is the one that I wrestled QT Marshall here at AEW in the Maverick Center because it was an event where my family and friends got to come watch me wrestle. Plus, it was like in the arena. I grew up watching wrestling. Like, that was so fun to be in that arena and see it, and to feel it.
And have you ever been approached for any kind of like offer for wrestling? Any company? I'm sure a
I
lot of
saw
people have asked you this, and you don't have to say anything, but I'm
no,
curious.
like to be honest with you, no. Like but I'm not contract chasing, if that makes sense. Like, I'm
Fair
enjoying
enough.
now what I'm doing because I get to work with all of them, right? If I end up signing to NWA, then it's only NWA. Like, I really like work, and anytime these companies come to the West Coast, I'm always the guy that they're using, and they're always calling, to help them out. So, like, that's cool. Like, if I sign to one company, then I can't really do that for everyone. Is that the goal? Of course, it's the goal. We all want to be signed, and I'm not really thinking about that. If that makes sense, it used to consume me. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I want to be signed by I'm 30. When I turned 30, I just said, whatever. It's up to God at this point. I'm just going to do what I feel is best for me in the business.
I've seen so many people like when they hit 30, even 35, something like that, they immediately start thinking about, oh man, how much longer do I want to do this? If they've been doing it
Yeah.
since like 18 or 20 or something like that. Uh, that I'm sure that doesn't hit you because you're in great shape, you're doing well. And great shape, by the way, because when I first met you compared to now, holy crap, what a transformation. And I'm sure that wasn't easy because, I mean, it's
Oh,
not like
man.
I'm not saying you look terrible, but you definitely
I was pudgy.
improved. I was trying to be nice, man. Hey, I
I
still got
definitely was.
photos with you, man. So, but
Those but
no,
I look back on those as good accomplishments. You know what I mean? Like, it is a hard work. It's a journey. It's been a journey.
that's how it goes, right? You look
Yeah.
back in your career and you have, ways you used to look. You have, moments you've screwed up. I've had them. I've had moments behind the curtain that I've screwed up. And guess what? I mean, yeah, there was that back then, but now where are you at? It's how you've progressed, how you've learned, and utilize that to propel your career.
But that's true though. It's like that's what's cool is like
Yeah,
that shows growth, right? Like for me particularly, like because like even like when I went to Atlanta and moved, like did time with OVW and Al, like the biggest thing was you got to get on the diet. You know what I mean? You got to clean up your diet. And that's like now I know, like I'm not gonna sit here and say I count macros per se, but I watch what I eat. I know pizza's bad, so I'm not eating pizza. I'm gonna eat turkey. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, it takes a lot of time and dedication to get in the industry. At least if you want to keep going with it. A lot of people
Yeah.
do it the part time. I mean, I've met a couple of people who are like, "No, I just want to wrestle for one promotion, every so often." I mean, that's okay, but
Yeah.
if you want to excel, then you have to build yourselves. The conditioning and everything physical as well as mental, and that's a tough ask for a lot of people, especially in today's society, because
Yeah.
the mental health behind something like pro wrestling is a lot of people that you got to deal with. Uh, that's always tough. I mean, if you don't have the mentality, you're just not going to succeed before you even get out the curtain,
Yeah.
and it's it's real rough. You know, we've you and I know a lot of people who are probably not in the industry anymore. Uh, we won't name names, won't even single out people, but what is a big factor of when somebody decides to exit pro wrestling? What is the biggest thing that holds people back?
The commitment to the grind. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, there's nothing wrong at all with being just the once a month there, working for your own promotion, wanting to help build the promotion, right? Like, so I think the biggest thing is that people do is they put a expiration date on how long they want to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, like by the time I turn 25, if I don't have this, then I'm done wrestling, right? It's like you have to understand that, like, if no one knows who you are, no one's going to buy what you're selling. So you got to get out there on the road and build your brand. You got to build some sort of buzz. And you can't do it sitting at home with only 40 milers wrestling inside of the same 50 people. So I think that's the biggest thing for that. But again, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't hate anyone. I have a lot of those on my roster. I use them every month because they're my students, and that's their goal. And that's fine. But understand, if your goal is to become the main event of WrestleMania, you have to look like the main event of WrestleMania. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I've seen so many talented, bro. I mean, I'm a dinosaur now. You're aging me here. I've seen so
I'm
many
older than
talented.
you are.
I've seen so many guys, bro, that have come and gone. and you're just like, man, what happened to them? And then you're like, oh, they're just done, you know? And it's like, why? Like, you're really talented. And it's about location too. Like sometimes you have to move across. Like I moved 28 hours away to Atlanta, Georgia for 2 years to up my craft, right? So it's like, it's that sacrifice. And like, again, I mentioned I'm a full time dad. And during those 2 years, I'm a full time dad still, but I'm having a relationship with my son on my iPhone, coming home once a month, to see him. Like, but it's a sacrifice that I don't regret because it taught my son to go after your dreams and aspirations. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the biggest thing is like people put expiration dates and they don't want to really put in the work what it takes.
So we're closing up, but I mean, I wanted to ask one more on the bucket list because you have a lot of things you want to do. Uh, what places do you think are the most appealing to you that you would love to go wrestle a match at? Not saying just promotions. I'm talking like anywhere in particular. Have you been out of the country to wrestle out of the country?
No, Japan would be on my bucket list. I was supposed to go to Japan with Gallows and Anderson, but then they ended up getting re-signed to WWE, and then I just haven't revisited again with them. But Japan definitely was. I think when COVID hit, it kind of scared me to leave because you just didn't know what was going to happen if you left the stage, right? So and none of us knew anything that was happening at that time. So it was just a fear tactic, I want to say. But I don't know. Like I think now it's such a different world where it's like social media is everywhere, and you can literally become a star everywhere on based online, right? Uh, Puerto Rico would be fun to wrestle in. I'd love to wrestle in Puerto Rico. Mexico, I'd love to do Mexico. Obviously the goal, like where I want to go now, when you're talking about bigger promotions, TNA is definitely like the one that I really want to go to because I know everyone there, and I feel like I'd be used properly there, if that makes sense. If I go to these other ones, I may get caught in the mix. My goal, like I said, like I want to wrestle WWE, So, like, there's just so much that I want to accomplish. Like I want to wrestle Chris Jericho still, before his time's done. Like, there's so much that I want to do, and I don't feel like I'm ready to give it up or slow it down anytime soon, and we're not. We're not giving it up till we accomplish what we came here for.
Well, Manny, we didn't get to nearly as much as I'm sure you have to tell, but but maybe it'll be reason to get you. Maybe it'll be enough reason to get you back. I do want to get some more stories out of you later, but I just want to thank you for your time, man. And I get to see you soon. I get to work with you plenty, and I'm privileged to do so. So from me, thank you so much for what you do. I appreciate it, and I have a lot of fun when you're around. So, Manny, we'll close up. But before we go, where can people find you?
So the biggest thing for me is at Manny Lemons on everywhere: Instagram, X, Facebook. You can follow my school promotion at Devotion Championship Wrestling on X, Facebook, Twitter. Also follow NWA Duke City as well. I would consider that. I consider that one my home away from home, which So it's the like, share, subscribe, do the whole bit.
I don't even say that. Like, thank you so much, Manny. I appreciate it. We'll see you around. And again, thank you so much for what you do. Much love to you, man. From me to you.
Thank you, my brother. Appreciate it, my friend.
Everybody else, we will see you around. Laters.